Let's talk about blood typing. So, you're probably familiar with this already. Each of us has a specific blood type. Could be like A positive, B negative. What those different blood types are referring to are the carbohydrates that are present on the surface of red blood cells. So we're just talking about red blood cells here for the next couple of slides. On the surface, we've got these carbohydrates. And those carbohydrates have an important interaction with the immune system. Okay, so the immune cells of the immune system, which we'll spend a chapter on a little bit later on, cells of the immune system are always just kind of looking around in the body and checking to see if things are as they should be or if they are foreign. These carbohydrates are one of the things that the immune system can recognize. They see that and they say, oh, okay, that's a normal cell. It's one that's supposed to be here. It's part of this body. It's not foreign. Okay, so if you were to take a blood cell from a different individual with a different blood type and insert it into the first person's body, what will happen is the immune system might recognize that. It might recognize the fact that these carbohydrates look different. They don't belong here. So the way that our immune systems do this is through the use of antibodies. Antibodies are substances that can recognize. They look like this kind of a Y shape. Each one of these is an antibody. And this antibody and this antibody are different. They're color-coded differently just to represent that they recognize different things. All right, so for an individual person, their blood will contain antibodies that recognize foreign antigens. Okay, so it's not gonna bind to and attack its own cell, right? It's gonna bind to foreign things, recognize foreign things. So, with the different types of blood types that people have, it turns out there are 4 different types just due to the different possible combinations of carbohydrates present on the surface of red blood cells. That was a mouthful. Okay, so 4 different types. Let's check out the 4 different types that are possible. If a person has blood with the A antigen, by the way, antigen is just something that an antibody can recognize. It's just a physical thing that an antibody can bind to. So, okay, blood type A. This is just saying that the person has red blood cells with the A antigen present on the surface. Blood type B. This is referring to a person who has the B antigen present on the surface. Different type of carbohydrate. Some people actually have both. And this is because humans are diploid, right? We get one gene from our mom, one from our dad. It could be that you get an A from mom, B from dad, and so your blood cells might have both antigens present. Finally, type O. People with type O blood, they don't have either A or B, so their red blood cells are particularly smooth on the surface. They don't have the carbohydrates present. All right, so when we think about doing transfusions, so taking blood from one individual, putting it into another individual. When you do a transfusion, you have to be really careful about these different blood types, because if you mix different blood types, you may get a bad reaction with the immune system. And specifically what can happen is agglutination. Agglutination just means sticking together, and it's through the action of the antibodies. So if we, for example, if we take blood type B and we put it into a person with blood type A, then that person's antibodies are going to make the blood cells stick together. The antibodies are going to bind to it, and this is going to be a bad thing. We don't want this to happen. So with blood typing, how do we determine what blood type a person has? We can do a simple test. If we were together in person in the second half of this semester, we would be doing this in lab together, blood typing. You've seen a video of how to do it, but what this involves is taking a sample of the blood and mixing in a little bit of the antibody, essentially, is what we're mixing in, and then we look to see if there's clumping that takes place. So if you take blood type A, and if you mix it with antibodies against the A antigen, we're going to see clumping. We're going to see agglutination taking place. Okay. If we mix the blood type A with antibodies for type B, nothing's going to happen. There's no B antigen present, so no reaction with the antibodies. Blood type B, we see just the opposite. If you mix blood type B with anti-B antibodies, clotting takes place, clumping up takes place, agglutination happens, but not with the anti-A. So blood type AB, this one's kind of interesting because, again, these red blood cells have both A and B antigens present on the surface. So if we mix it with antibodies against the B antigen, we're going to have agglutination. If we mix it with antibodies against the A antigen, we're going to have agglutination. Okay, so that's just representing the fact that both the A and B antigens are present on the surface. So blood typing, again, 4 types, A, B, AB, or type O. There's something else that often is indicated with blood types, and that's the positive or the negative. What's that all about? So the positive and the negative, what this is referring to is the presence of another type of antigen that can be present on the surface, and it's called the Rh factor. The Rh factor is a whole nother group of antigens. It turns out one of them is particularly significant medically, so that's the one that we focus in on. That's the only one that we're actually indicating with the positive and negative that we tag on with blood types. And this is an antigen that can be very serious with pregnancies. So if you have, or if a mother, if the mom, the female, has blood type Rh minus, okay, so if they are a negative blood type, A negative, B negative, AB negative, O negative, whatever, if they are negative for the Rh factor, then that's saying that the mom's blood does not have the Rh factor present, doesn't have that antigen present. If her baby does have the Rh factor, so if the dad was blood type positive, then the baby could be blood type positive. Okay, so if that's the case for her first baby, then when childbirth happens, sometimes there can be some mixing of blood. Sometimes some of the baby's blood mixes with some of the mom's blood. And so that means that the mother has now been exposed to this foreign antigen. That means that her immune system may become activated against that antigen because it looks foreign. Okay, so that first baby will be born no problem, will be healthy. However, if that same mother goes on and has a second child somewhere down the road, if that second baby has blood type positive, that can be very serious because essentially the mother's immune system will start attacking the baby's blood. So that can be extremely serious. This is something that, if it's known at the first pregnancy, okay, this issue that the mom is type negative, then there's a treatment that can be given. It has to be given within 72 hours of childbirth. Okay, so it has to be given within a certain time frame of exposure to the positive blood type of the first baby. So it's called RhoGAM. This is something that doctors and nurses are very cognizant of. This is something that is standard to be tested for, but it's good for you to know about it as well. Right? So RhoGAM, what it does is it hides the Rh antigens from the baby's blood. It just kind of blocks them so that the mother's immune system can't see it, and so she doesn't develop antibodies. If the mother does not get this treatment, then it's possible that she'll only be able to have that one first child and not have future children, which is a sad thing if she wants to have more kids. So anyway, RhoGAM within 72 hours of the first childbirth. If the mother is a positive blood type, Rh positive, no need to worry about this at all, because that means the mother has the antigen herself, so she's not going to have antibodies against it. So that is a little bit about blood typing.